It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans, and I am with you this morning. You're joining us in our third segment this morning, and you have to just bear with us. We've been hammering away at the issues of firing all of these folks that are currently up there in Congress, and I'm not just talking about Congress, people. I'm talking about the entire system. All right. Before we get into this topic right now about Iraq and how it's fallen, yesterday, for the record, Iraq fell. Mosul was taken over. They got U.S. fighter planes. They got choppers. They got heavy weaponry, including artillery. They got guns, ammunition, all of it supplied by the U.S. And they broke into the federal treasury, and guess what? They got $429 billion. $1 million, excuse me. Hang on one second. We're going to bring Mike Slack on. Mike's going to talk to us about the Go Green Festival, which is coming up. Mike, are you with us this morning? Mike, are you?
Here, Mike?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Very busy news day. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Gotcha. Speak up a little bit, though.
Okay. Well, I wanted to remind everybody about the Go Green Self-Reliance Festival on June 21 and 22.
Okay. Give us the details on that, Mike.
Sure. I'd encourage everybody to come out both days this time because of all the great speakers we have. On Saturday, you will be speaking.
Okay.
We have Bob Gaskin from Black Dog Survival School, who's pretty well known. Dan Collins from Survival by Preparedness. We have Doug Breathauer and Jim Hart, who's an MSU professor. They will have the wood gas-powered pickup truck and a wood gas-powered generator. Mike Brown will be speaking on steam engines, electricity for your home. On Sunday, we're going to have Dawn McPherson on herbs and home medicines, what to do when there is no doctor. Lynette Pate, a former guest on your show, an organic guru.
Yep.
Let's see, we'll have Bob Gaskin again talking about what to do with your pets when there is a major disaster, how to take care of them. John Moore, a radio host, he'll be talking about his views on climate change. He thinks it does exist but is not man-made and has some ideas on what to expect and how to handle it. Let's see. We're going to have
Mike, give us the dates.
Mike,
give us the dates of the program again, because go ahead and give us the location of where it's being held at.
June 21 and 22. That's a Saturday and Sunday. That is the weekend after this coming weekend.
Okay.
In Thayer City Park, 20 miles south of West Plains on 63, by the Rodeo Arena.
Gotcha.
Now, how can also live music all day, both days?
How can people contact you if they want to either be a vendor there, or they need information or directions or information about how to get there? Can you give them a phone number?
They can actually go to. Sure, they can go to AVN's Facebook page and find info, or they can call me at 417-264-2435.
Okay, so it's 417-264-2435. Is that correct?
Yes, admission is free, vendors are free.
Outstanding. Yeah, Mike, this is how many years have you been doing this Go Green Festival? Because it's been a very, very successful program. You've had it going on now for what, about 5 or 6 years?
Started in 2009.
Okay, so and I remember, or I recall last year you had a group of really neat people there, including the guy with the wood gas. Now I understand they're going to come with a different vehicle this year, but this is a vehicle, folks, that runs on wood. There's no gasoline associated with it. It literally runs on wood, or it can be toggled back and forth between gasoline and wood. Actually, in fact, I got a ride in the one last year.
Technology.
Sorry, you're on a cell phone, Mike, and you're fading out there.
Well, our phones have a little bit of a problem, but it's an old technology that's been modernized, and it's great as a backup for making electricity or powering a vehicle.
Right. Great. Well, all right, Mike. We'll see you on the 21st and the 22nd of June. I'll be down there to speak on Saturday. Whatever schedule you set up for me is fine with me, and I'm sure that this.
We'll schedule on AVN and Facebook page.
Outstanding. I'm sure this program will be just as successful as prior years. So that's great news. Thanks very much, Mike, for joining with us. Appreciate it this morning. Folks, that was Mike Slack. He is and I apologize, he was on a cell phone and having a lot of trouble there. The program that he runs is Go Green Festival. And this is a festival that is held down in Thayer, Missouri. It's in the South Ozark area, so if you're within a reasonable travel distance, it's a great opportunity for you to come out there. He has guests there and they're speakers, of course, but there are all kinds of guests there. That Mike Brown, perfect example. Mike is a guy who builds steam engines, and he can steam engines that you can then hook up to a generator to produce electricity. He is also one of the foremost experts on the creation and manufacture of alcohol to be used as an alternative fuel. He even has a special carburetor, which he is the patent holder of and supplier of, and it's meant to take this carburetor and replace an existing carburetor on a gasoline engine so that you can run it on alcohol. So if you have an opportunity to get out there and see Mike or call him, if you'd like to be a vendor there, if you've got a product or a service that you think would be a good fit, you can call him at 417-264-2435. You can also find information on our website at americasvoicenow.org, and then you can also find that on our Facebook page at facebook.com/America's Voice Now. All right, I want to get into this issue with what happened over there in Mosul yesterday, because I got to tell you, folks, this is a serious, serious problem. When they broke in and took Mosul over, and this is they call themselves ISIS. It's a division, or if you will, an arm of Al-Qaeda. They are beyond a doubt they are jihadists and Islamic Sharia law extremists. You know, their goal is to turn everything into this Islamic and Muslim caliphate. Now, the Islamic State of Iraq and al-Shams, which is called ISIS, they are now the richest terror group because they just got $429 million from the central bank that now exceeds whatever all of the other terrorist organizations that are far more well known and far larger. I mean, we're talking they have more money now than the Taliban. They have more money than Hezbollah. They have more money than Hamas, Al-Shabaab. Folks, what's transpired here is an example. It's an example for us of the complete and total lack of, and frankly, it's more than a failure of both the Bush and the Obama administrations. This is a failure of our national stated policy run by a group of traitors and treasonous who are filling Washington. This is a long time. I mean, look, we've had this imperialistic attitude, and we've been operating it as a national policy now for decades, since World War II, frankly. It's time for America to worry about America first. And that, by the way, includes our southern border, which we're going to talk about in our last segment this morning after this one. Here's the problem. We are so busy running imperialistic injections of fake democracy into foreign nations that, and it's not real. All it really is doing, folks, is enable, and it's engendered and created by I want to say the Federal Reserve, but it isn't the Federal Reserve. It's the federal system, or the Federal Reserve, or the central banking system, and the International Monetary Fund, and the globalists who control these organizations. Listen, they don't give a darn about democracy. They don't care about somebody with ink on their finger. Did they vote? These people, as far as they're concerned, they are the chaff, not the wheat. They couldn't care less about that. Mosul has fallen under terrorist control. They don't even care about that. The only thing they care about is, can they destabilize the world to a point where the phoenix of terror and treason and oligarchy rises from the ashes of liberty in the United States and freedom in the United States, and in all these other foreign countries, whatever government they've got, whatever their situation is, as long as they destabilize it and tyranny rises from those ashes, that's all they're concerned with. Their goal is a worldwide, universal, one-world government that they're in control of. Their goal is the massive, and when I say massive, I mean, we're talking about 3/5 of the world's population, the decimation of humanity on the earth. Because 7.5 billion of us is too many. 1.5, that's a doable number for them. Because that's enough people to produce, that's enough people to be able to maintain, that's enough people to be able to easily control. And what you've got in these situations is the globalists are engineering and fomenting revolutions and destruction and chaos and death all over the world. Do they care about people in Iraq who are voting and have to walk around with ink on their finger, which then makes them the target because they voted? Do they care about people in Venezuela and Brazil? Do they care about people in Russia? Do they care about individuals, families? Do they care about your business? No, only to the extent. I mean, now, yeah, if you're a vintner and you make a fine wine, they care about keeping your business alive and maybe keeping you alive if you're the secret ingredient that makes that wine special, because they enjoy that. But that's pretty much it. Everybody else is expendable. For real, folks. Get with it. Understand what's happening. That is what all of this, and if you think for a moment that these weapons that are being dispersed and distributed to all of these terrorist organizations around the planet are not engineered, you're operating under a delusional fantasy. It is. Because there's no other way for them to get them to them in such a massive scale without some observation and somebody raising a flag. So, you know, the whole thing in Libya with Benghazi, that was all about weapons of mass destruction being transferred around. No, not weapons of mass destruction as in nuclear. Weapons of mass destruction as in a weapon that can, 20,000 Stinger missiles that can pull down every airliner in the air. Come on, people. Why at the end do you think this won't? Because starvation kills millions, tens of hundreds of millions of billions without a shot being fired. By allowing these Islamic terrorists to gain control of Mosul, and if you don't think that this was engineered, all you got to do is look back at our policy over there. We just pulled all of our troops out. Frankly, we should have never been there in the first place. We should have let Saddam do what Saddam does. And, you know, there was another way to solve that problem without killing a single American, and that would have just been to send a special squad over there and blow the guy's brains out. But we can't do that because governments have instituted this rule that says, you know, we can't kill each other as heads of state. I mean, it's okay if we kill tens of thousands of our peasants. It's okay if we kill millions of our peasants. But, you know, I'm a head of state, you're a head of state. We're not going to kill each other. You got to be kidding me. What's amazing is that we as a nation, we as a country, allow this to go on. If they really didn't like Saddam Hussein and his moves and the things that he was doing to his own country, which were horrific, the guy was a monster, no denying it. But he's no different than the monsters that you currently have, including Barack Obama. You think Obama is any different than Saddam Hussein? Come on. Really? He just hasn't descended openly to the same levels of destruction, of evil. But engineering the destruction of a nation of 315 million people? Come on, people. And you know what? Obama and Bush before him, they were just as evil. What do you think rendition was? You think it was limited to a washcloth over the guy's face while a glass of water was poured in his nostrils? Really? Really? Go ask some guys who did interrogations in Vietnam and ask them if waterboarding is the worst thing that they can do. It's amazing how naive people are, especially our people. I mean, we all believe that this grandfatherly-like Uncle Sam is out there doing all the right stuff. He's doing none of the right stuff. Now they have fighter planes, helicopters, artillery, weaponry, ammunition, heavy weapons. Do you know the implications of that? Do you understand the implications of all of this weaponry out there? Not to mention $429 million in gold and cash, which, by the way, was our money because they don't have any. All they've got is oil, and we've pretty much prohibited them from selling that. And by the way, as I recall, when this all started, we were told, we were going to get reimbursed by the first sales of that oil. Yeah, right. Did that ever happen? No, and it was never intended to happen. It was all a lie to get you to buy into it. 500 billion Iraqi dinars, that's $429 million, or 256 million pounds, was looted. They've stolen the millions from numerous bank accounts across Mosul, and a huge quantity of gold bullion is believed to have been stolen as well. So now you have what is clearly a dangerous and not, I mean, look, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, Taliban, their risk to us domestically here in the United States is pretty nominal if we secure our border, which we're going to talk about in a moment. But they can wreak all kinds of havoc all over the rest of the world. The truth of the matter is, we are trying to play corrupt policemen, and it doesn't work that way. Being a policeman only works if you are an honest broker. And we, ladies and gentlemen, are anything but an honest broker. The United States of America and the government that is running our foreign policy, and it's not limited to Obama. It was Bush before him. It was Clinton before that. It was Bush before that. Reagan before that. Carter before that. You can keep on going back. Here's the deal, folks. This is not a war that, frankly, we should have been involved in the first place. And now, through intended or unintended consequences, and I don't really care how you look at it, because it doesn't really make any difference ultimately. Now that it's happened, this is going to spread death and destruction for hundreds of thousands of people. Also that these people can play power games. Like they play this game like it's Risk, Monopoly, chess. They're safely ensconced in their $10,000, uniforms and outfits, silk suits and $900 shoes, putting them up on a $25,000 desk in Washington, D.C. And now they have heavy weaponry. They have Fighter jets. Fighter jets. Now, do they have the skill to fly them? You bet somebody does. Somebody does. They have helicopters. They have artillery. and you know, if you look over next door at bordering Syria, they still have the chemical weapons that we've never taken away from them. Despite all the promises of red lines and all the rhetoric and the nonsense and the lies from the liar in chief, they're still holding on to, what, 60, 70% of that. What do you think you can fire out of an artillery piece? A long way away. The State Department says they're deeply concerned. You know, every time I hear the phrase deeply concerned, my blood pressure goes up by at least 6 points. Because it's code word for we're in trouble now that the American people found out. The truth of the matter is, the American people are unwilling to do what needs to be done. And I'm not just talking about getting rid of a piece of crap like Eric Cantor in a primary. I'm talking about saying, you know what? We're on a national strike and we're finished. And we're taking all the money back because we're just not going to participate. We're not buying anything. We're not paying our taxes. We're not paying our mortgages. We're not paying our car payments. That's it. We're done. We're finished. We're on strike. End of discussion. End of argument. We're going to starve the beast and bleed you off. The only other alternative we've got, ladies and gentlemen, and even this wouldn't work without massive reform in our country, and that is the arrest of Barack Obama. And if we do the strike first, then a consequence of that has to be the arrest and removal of Barack Obama for crimes against humanity, crimes against the United States, crimes against the world, treason. There are no other alternatives, people. There really aren't. And guess what? We've still got folks over there, and we've got folks over in neighboring Afghanistan. And with that kind of weaponry, they can do an enormous amount of damage. In fact, for the record, we've had more American soldiers wounded, injured, and killed in the years that Barack Obama has been in power than... See, this is just all a sham. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about illegal immigration because there is a problem with illegal immigration here. We have to lock down the border with our military troops. We have to lock it down, seal it shut, and bristle it with firearms and say, if you cross this border, you will be shot on sight. That's the end of it, folks. There is no other salvation for our country. We have a right to do that. It is our country. Castle Doctrine. Remember? Castle Doctrine. We'll be right back.